Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
What are you talking about, Hal?
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
Welcome to Kermode Uncut. I was thinking recently about Douglas Rain, who is perhaps best known as the voice of the HAL computer in Stanley Kubrick's 2001. I'd seen 2001 again just a few months ago. They played it at a film festival I was at in the Isle of Man. And I was struck once again by just how much the character of Hal dominates the proceedings, despite the fact that you don't ever see anything apart from a robotic eye looking out. I remember talking to Douglas Trumbull, who went on to make Silent Running. He had done special effects for 2001, and he said that one of the things about 2001 was it was a film in which the most sympathetic character was a homicidal computer who wanted to kill all the astronauts. And I was thinking about Douglas Rain's voice, that extraordinary voice, and how many people have co-opted it since.
I could see your lips move.
So many situations arise when somebody says to you, you're going to find that difficult without your helmet, aren't you, Dave? And people have, phones that are set to talk in a voice reminiscent of Douglas Rain. It's become the voice of the impersonal computer. And I started thinking about other actors whose voices are almost more famous than their screen presences.
There must be a con like me in every prison in America.
When I made a documentary about the Shawshank Redemption some years ago, there was an interview with Morgan Freeman who had talked about the way in which he had developed his voice very specifically. I mean, Morgan Freeman narrates that film, and his narration is such a key part of it. But that didn't happen just out of nothing. He worked on making his voice the kind of voice that you could listen to as a narrator's voice. I read somewhere that James Earl Jones, who's an award-winning actor, was referred to once as the most recognisable voice of his generation. I mean, everyone knows what James Earl Jones looks like. I mean, it's a very, very famous face, but it's his voice that people think of as the key recognisable factor, not least, I suppose, because he ends up being the voice of Darth Vader in the Star Wars movies. And then again, I was thinking about my favourite film of all time, The Exorcist, in which that voice, the demonic voice of Pazuzu, is provided by Mercedes McCambridge. Now, Mercedes McCambridge is a really interesting case. I interviewed her when we were making the documentary The Fear of God, and she's a fascinating woman. She had an incredible life, an extraordinary life, an awful lot of hardship in her life as well. But Orson Welles described her as the greatest radio actress of her generation. As far as Wells was concerned, her voice was the key to everything that was brilliant about her, and that's what came into Friedkin's mind when he was trying to think of somebody to do the voice of the demon Pazuzu. So, as a way of remembering the achievement of Douglas Rain and his incredible vocal contribution to 2001, a film which is more often remembered as its spectacular sort of breakthrough visuals imprint themselves on everyone's memory, who else do you think of as an actor whose most recognisable feature is their voice?
This conversation can serve no purpose anymore. Goodbye.